Hey everyone, I'm Kristen, the cross stitching runner, and welcome back to my Flosstube channel. This is episode 15, and I'm recording this on Saturday, the 11th of December. And I feel like this is my Flosstube confessional because it's been so long since I've last recorded an episode. So, for anyone who's a returning viewer watching this or a new viewer who's come along, hello, welcome, and thank you. And thank you to any new subscribers who have come along for the ride as well. This is a channel where I talk about cross stitch mostly and a little bit of life stuff that's going on. So it's been roughly a month, maybe longer, since I've last recorded an episode, and for the most part, life has gotten in the way between now and then. And with today, I'm feeling knackered. I'm tired. Um, Work for the last couple of weeks at least has been super busy. Um, that said, I feel like I'm earning my keep with my professional job, so that's the slight positive. So with work, we've been making some changes in the background to the records management system we use. So that's required a lot of work behind the scenes, and then over the last 10 business days, I have presented 20 information sessions to groups of various sizes via our workplace video conferencing kind of software, and just showing people some of the changes that have been happening. And each session on average has gone for about 45 minutes. And especially with this week, when the changes we've made have gone live and everyone has started using the updated record keeping system, I've been taking quite a lot of phone calls and answering a lot of emails as part of certain things that have happened with the system that we didn't quite know about, that people are letting us know are happening, and answering any additional questions that people may not have thought to ask or may not have experienced to ask in those sessions that I was presenting. So it's been on average an 8-hour workday for me, which is roughly at least half an hour longer, maybe in some cases a couple of hours longer than I normally work. And on Sunday last week, it was a 12-hour day, and I rarely, if ever, work weekends as part of the job. So that's part of where I felt really, really tired, and especially with last week, I've barely gotten any cross stitch done. So what I have done in our world of cross stitch is I've actually de-kitted some of my whips, and I guess to some extent some of my whips are in semi-retirement. They're not going to be UFOs. I do want to come back and work on them. So I feel like I've got a bout of hay fever that is wanting to make itself known. So at the moment, it's starting with my nose running a little bit and a potential sneeze coming on. So if this video becomes disjointed, my apologies, and thank you for bearing with me. So as part of me de-kitting some of my whips, it means I've got multiples of some of my DMC floss. And what I've done, hang on, I'm going to step away from camera just for a moment. I've got my main collection just to the left of me. I'm going to share with you what I've done with some of my multiples of floss. Hang on. Okay, so what I have done is, okay, no, that's not going to quite cut it. So I've got somewhere in my collection, for example, I know that I've got multiples of the DMC number 3743, and I'm a bobinator. For me, it makes life a lot more comfortable for organising my floss, and especially if I'm going to be traveling with my floss for different kids. What I've done, and this was actually something I think I came across on the internet. So on my bobbin, in one of the corners, I've written the word spare, and I'm just going to turn this upside down a little bit. What I've done is with some of our DMC floss, when we purchase it, it'll traditionally look like this. And what I've done is, as part of taking the two plastic bits off the floss, I have, for example, I'll take this off for a moment. So I've taken this off, and then when I've got an empty skein or empty bobbin, sorry, I've had the bobbin sitting like this. I've held it down with my fingers and then wound the floss around the bobbin to secure the plastic bit so that I know what the floss number is for that particular colour. And by just writing the word spare on the bobbin, once I've run out of this particular colour, and I may choose not to purchase it again because I've got at least two others of these in this colour available to me, I may use this bobbin as a spare for another colour. So that's my logic behind all of that, and we'll wait and see how that goes into the future. And what's going to hopefully help is, yeah, just seeing actually how many colours of one colour I have. I know that for the likes of some of the browns in the 400s, I've got about four spares plus the original. So I've got about 5 bobbins worth of 437, for example. So that's been interesting. And what I've done, and the box that I have with me right now, it's not going to do just as much. But what I've done is I've incorporated the spare bobbins or spare colours in with my master set. So I have my floss organised by numbers because it makes it easier for me to kit up different projects and go through the floss list for any project to then by number pick out the colours that I need when I'm using DMC thread. And when I've got my projects kitted up, I try to keep them in numerical order as well. It just makes life a lot easier for me, even though in most cases numbers and I don't like each other. Maths and I, that's another story. So that's what I've done in place of doing a lot of stitching, and that said, it was probably last weekend on Saturday where I did have an opportunity to have a bit of downtime before things really got nuts with work, and I actually got a little bit of cross stitch done, and I was able to watch a bit of Flosstube. I am so far behind, guys, on my Flosstube episodes in terms of catching up with everyone and finding out what's going on in everyone's worlds with cross stitch. And there are times where I feel so tired that I put pressure on myself to think, no, I've got to catch up with everyone. I've got to watch everyone's episodes and feel like I'm doing justice and participating in the Flosstube world and cross stitch world. And sometimes for me, it becomes unreasonable. I feel stressed out. I put too much pressure on myself to feel like I can catch up with everyone. And that's okay. There are times where it's like I just got to take a few steps back and understand that, okay, I'm not always going to be able to watch all of the episodes that I want to watch, and I'll get there. I'll be able. Sorry, I'm putting this back on while I'm talking. I'll get there. I'll be able to eventually watch the episodes I need, and I'm just doing what I can while I can in between everything else that's happening with life. So with last week, when I did get to have a little bit of downtime and I did get to watch a little bit of Flosstube. One of the Australian Flosstubers who I follow, she's based down in Melbourne, so I'm just going to get this out of the way. She's an Aussie floss tuber based in Melbourne, and it's Morgan Honeybee Stitcher, and her and I had participated in the Black Needle Society's Autumn in Stars Hollow, and it's the first box out of I think 4 boxes that are going to happen based on the seasons in terms of autumn, winter, summer, spring, and in the special stitchy box that came with the first one is this pattern, and it's a full coverage pattern that was designed, I believe it was by Katie, who's part of the Black Needle Society. She's done a phenomenal job with this design, and it's got a lot of the key features of the Stars Hollow town. I want to call them a village. Throughout the series of Gilmore Girls, there's talk about there being like 2,000 people in the town or something like that. But this particular pattern has got a lot of key features within from the series within the township and that kind of thing. And Morgan really helped me with my motivation, just seeing her pretty well complete that pattern. And I know there are some other people that I follow on Flosstube who have stitched the pattern as well, and I've started it. I've made a start because I want to get the pattern done by the time I receive my next box. So this is what I've done so far. So I've stitched Rory's skirt, and I've started on the Luke Steiner coffee cup. So I'll just bring this up for comparison. So you might be able to see the comparisons of where I've started and such. So I'm using the fabric that came with the Stitchy box, the Black Needle Society's Stitchy box. So I'm using, what is it? It is called Fibre on a Whim. It's hand dyed 28 count cashel linen, and it's a fat 1/8 piece, and it's called Presenting Lorelei Gilmore. So that was part of one of the episodes in the Gilmore Girls, and I'm also using the needle minder. It's upside down at the moment, but the needle minder says, "This is the last time I buy anything just because it's furry." So that particular quote is from I think one of the first, if not, I think it's the first episode of Gilmore Girls where Lorelai has bought a fuzzy alarm clock, and she bought it because she thought it was cute and furry and everything. The alarm clock did not purr on time, so therefore she didn't get up enough time to pick up her laundry and wear the cute flippy skirt to be able to take Rory to her first day at Chilton. And it meant that she was dressed as Daisy Duke instead, with the short denim shorts and like a tie-dyed kind of t-shirt thing that was relating to cowboys, and she had cowboy boots on, and for a fancy preppy school, not the greatest thing to wear. So I'm really glad that I've made a start on this, because in the last couple of days I have had my order confirmed to get Summer in Stars Hollow. I'm really excited about that. So the box will arrive sometime next year. Not a big worry or stress, because who knows what's going to happen with this world? Who knows? So I really want to get the pattern done by by June next year, I think it's probably mid to late June, when the next stitching retreat's going to happen for this box. And so I'm using a combination of cord 4 colours and a few substitutions of my own. I'm doing this 2 over 2, so 2 threads over 2 fabric squares. So what I've done, interestingly, I'm actually following the actual colour palette that we see on the cover here a little bit more than what is being called for in the floss list. So I will be using majority of the DMC threads, and where it's calling some of the specialty threads, what I'm doing is using some of the colour on cotton threads that came in the Stitchy box, and then I'm also substituting in some of the other DMC threads that I have in my personal collection. My apologies, I'm halfway through drinking a coffee at the moment, and coffee has a funny relationship with me. So in the pattern, it's calling for I think it's a mist green or a pale green, or some kind of misty green kind of colour. So it's calling for a Weeks Dye Works sea foam. And I know that with the way dye lots work, and especially when we're looking at the printing of a photo, that sometimes things aren't always the way that they're intended to be. But based upon the picture that I see for the cover photo, I'm using DMC green, which I think it's 367. That's what I'm using for the background around the Luke's Diner cup. So yeah, we'll wait and see how that goes. I'm sure it'll be fine. But yeah, we'll wait and see. And what Morgan has done with her project of that pattern is in the word copper boom. In the word boom, it's what she's done is used like a gold, a metallic gold kind of thread for the word boom, and I love how that turned out for her. So I'm definitely considering doing something like that for some of those words, or using some variegated thread in the word copper, or something like that, because when I was bringing together my thread collection again as part of de-kitting some of my projects, I was reminded of some of the DMC threads that I've got that are variegated threads that in the early 100s. So I've got it in a box to my left, and it's going to be too much effort for me to go and get. But definitely, if you've got your phone with you, or next time you go to a store that stocks a lot of the DMC threads, have a look at some of the variegated threads that DMC have, especially in the early 100s. And yeah, they've got some really pretty colours, and I keep forgetting just how pretty they are, because I've got some projects floating around where I have used those variegated threads. Hang on. Okay, so I was looking down to my left, because what I've used here is actually some variegated thread that's actually DMC. All of this is DMC thread. And sorry, my phone was buzzing. So at the moment, 'tis the season to get some uncensored calls, and peeps couldn't be bothered to leave a message. It's probably a charity or something saying that they want money. So this is DMC variegated thread, and I'd initially stitched this with the intention of creating like a Christmas card or something, and at the moment I've just sort of backed it onto some cardboard, and I've just been using some sticky, like double-sided sticky tape to stick it on, and it's turned out so far so good. So I'm not quite sure how exactly I'm going to finish this off. So I don't know if I'll get some fancy ribbon or something to go around it and put it in a little frame, but yeah, so that's DMC variegated thread. So aside from starting on the Autumn in Stars hollow cross stitch pattern, what I've also finally gotten back to doing, as of like just the last couple of days, like including today and a little bit of Friday, I'm so glad it's Saturday. It's been a busy week. I don't normally talk a lot, but I've been talking a lot over the last few days. I'm getting into the groove now for it, but I'm an introvert, and for an introvert that doesn't talk a lot, I get really worn out. So I've started coming back to Dewdrop Daisy. So this is also actually going to be part of my plans for next year. So I'm on the Facebook group Full Coverage Fanatics, and the thing with Full Coverage Fanatics, I've been quite lax in not posting much with that Facebook group, and what I have been doing is just admiring everyone's progress and clicking on the like button and that kind of thing. But with that project, Dewdrop Daisy, my aim for next year with Full Coverage Fanatics is to do 22,000 stitches in the year 2022, which is a year-long challenge. And at the moment, actually I'll grab my phone again. My aim with the project, because it's got like it's got 60,522 stitches in the pattern. Today I have completed 95 stitches, and I've gotten 27.13% of it done. So that means since I started the project, I can't remember when, I have stitched 16,419 stitches. I'm using Pattern Keeper for this project, and it is an absolute godsend. Thank you so much to the person who has developed this app, or the team of people who have developed this app. The powers behind, or the brain powers behind this particular app, and I know that many other stitchers who use this app that's available on an Android device. Oh wow, I would love to give the person or the team of people behind this app a really big hug, because as far as full coverage patterns are concerned, this has been, in my world, one of the biggest game changers. And I have seen and heard on the internet, through different Facebook groups and through Flosstube and everything, how widely used the app is and how much of an improvement to people's lives it has made. And I thank you, an absolute big thank you. I really I'm using one of my other patterns, which is a mini mushroom pattern, as a paper pattern. And I guess for majority of my stitching life, I have used paper-based patterns, and I think it depends a little bit on the pattern as to whether or not that's a good thing or a bad thing, or the use. I'm indifferent to it, because for majority of my life, I've had paper patterns, and when it comes to full coverage, these sorts of apps like Pattern Keeper and some of the other apps that I've heard people talk about for the iOS or the Apple-based products, these sorts of apps are absolute game changers, time savers. Time savers is absolutely the best way to put it, because I'll use the screen as an example. Hopefully it's not too glary. So this is just a little bit of an example of the app where I can press on a particular symbol, and then the app's going to tell me what DMC thread that's connected to, and it'll highlight where that is. So I'll just change which thing it'll be. Okay, so that's an example. So I've got the symbol, I think it's the number 6 is the symbol, and I need to use the DMC thread number 3799. And apparently in this pattern I've got a remaining number of 531 stitches in that colour. And if I'm the kind of stitcher that does the extreme cross country, we'll see if I can get the screen to rotate around a bit. Okay, so to put things into perspective, I don't know if that's going to show up really well. Okay, there we go. So I know that it's not very clear right now, but if you can see some of the green highlights in the screen, that's where all of the DMC 3799 needs to be stitched. So if I was using some different fabric, like the gridded fabric that we can purchase, like the Easy Count stitching fabric, I'd be able to do some extreme cross country and actually count out where the squares are for that particular colour is, and then just stitch by that colour. So with all those things in mind, me raving about Pattern Keeper and being tired and being happy to get back into cross stitch, I've actually ironed this piece. I've made it pretty, and I'll take a few steps back. Okay, so this is what 27% of the pattern looks like that I've been working on. So this is me stitching on 2/2, so 2 threads over 2 fabric squares, and I think this is 28 count. I think it's 28 linen or 28 count even weave. I can't remember exactly. I did dye this fabric. I bought it from the Rosemont quilt shop, something very similar to that wording. So the shop that I bought this fabric from is based on the south coast of Australia in New South Wales. It's part of a township called Mogo, and for anyone who's living in the Canberra region or knows the south coast of New South Wales, Mogo, if you haven't been to it yet, they're about 15 to 20 minutes south of Batemans Bay, and the actual quilt shop, if you come off the main highway and start heading towards another township that escapes me right now, Tomakan. If you head towards Tomakan along, I think it's called Mogo Road or something along those lines, or Tomakan Road, that's where the quilt shop place will be. I love that shop. They've got a really good selection of things. So this is where I'm at, and oh, this is looking good. This is looking really good on the screen. I love how it's going, and this is where I can appreciate a bit for why my boyfriend's been really fantastic about being on my cheering squad. So he's actually been really enthusiastic and encouraging for me to work on Dewdrop Daisy, because we've actually got quite a lot of these sort of flowers in our garden, and we've got some bushes that are different colours. So this particular bush has got some varying shades of this orange looking colour. Then we've got another bush that has various shades of purple. And then we've got another bush that's got yellow flowers. And I know that down at the holiday house that my family stays at, we've got some bushes like that as well, that are purple and white. So one might be like a purple bush, another one will be like a white bush. They're just a really hardy plant, really hardy flowers. So with those things in mind and a few tips and tricks that I've shared, there's actually, as part of me watching things and slowly catching up with the world of cross stitch, there was actually another cross stitch thing that I picked up on, that initially I thought was super weird and I thought it was quirky and funny. But it makes a lot of sense. And the more I think about it, it's something I probably won't do because I'm not into floss drops. But Jennifer Jabber, her Flosstube episode number 111, I can't remember what her needle was on fire. There was something about her needle being on fire, that being the name of that Flosstube episode. And this really quirky tip that she shared with everyone on her channel was, she's deciding to move away from bobbins and she's using floss drops instead. And she wasn't happy with a lot of her threads being all kinked up and not pretty and straight. So what she did, and I thought that, hey, each to their own, she's actually used a mini hair straightener to straighten out her floss. And that's really cool and quirky, and I found it entertaining and strange because I've never thought to do that. And I've seen occasionally other people on Flosstube who've talked about the kinks in their thread, and just accepting that gravity is going to help smooth it out and it'll be okay over time. But that, I think, fast quickens up the process of making it straighter and such. So that's quick, kind of cool. So I definitely acknowledge Janet Jabber for that really cool tip. And if you're into doing those floss drops. If you're into doing those floss drops and you want your threads smooth, then hey, go and check out Janet Jabber's episode 111 or 111, and she'll be able to show you in her details of a Flosstube episode what that is. I'm just going to grab a drink of coffee. My energy is going. Thank you. So that was something that I learned and I thought was really cool and quirky, and I really wanted to share with all of you. So the other weird, quirky thing that has been playing around with in my mind off and on, and I know it's going to come onto my mind a lot more now that we're coming to the end of the calendar year. I'm unwinding, and as time goes on, especially with relaxing, being on holidays, I start questioning my career path. I start questioning what I'm doing for my life. I start questioning whether I'm happy. I guess taking stock, taking evaluation of where things are right now and what goals I want to do for the new calendar year with my life and other things that are going on outside of cross stitch, but even with cross stitch. So for anyone who's been watching some of these episodes, hang on, I just need to pause for a moment. I'll be back with you really, really soon. Thank you for that. My nose is bugging me. So, as part of my rambles of taking stock about what I want to do with life, for people who have been watching some of my episodes, you've even in this episode seen a pattern by hot cross stitching, which is my business that I'm slowly, like snail pace, slowly getting off the ground. So I've got the website called Hot Cross Stitching, and when things were happening in my professional career where I wasn't really sure if I was going to become permanent or what was going on with that role, because I was contract at the time, I was going, just making sure that I had a backup plan, and hot cross stitching is my backup plan. And as time goes on, and when different things happen in my professional life, where, for example, over the last couple of weeks when I've just been absolutely hammered at work and feeling super tired by it and talked out and everything in between, it's had me thinking or appreciating what life might be like if I really jump in to hot cross stitching. So the aim of hot cross stitching is, when you go to see the first page of the website, you'll see that I'm talking about, I guess, introducing the world of cross stitch to many people and having it feel like a family. And that's what I've definitely felt with cross stitch when I've really become part of stitching groups or the stitching retreats and that kind of thing. It's a situation that stems, or a feeling that stems from, I think, growing up. I know that I'm a quirky person. Quirky or not quirky as they come, because there are various shades of quirky and different. And there are times when I've been in stages of life where I felt like I haven't quite fitted in. And sometimes, hey, it is me being weird, me being strange, and coming out with the strangest of things and just sharing my personality with people, and they'll be like, oh, that's a bit weird, don't want to deal with that. And as a result, I spent a bit of time on my own, and that has enabled me to either become more eccentric and more quirky and figure out who I am, what I am, and that kind of thing. And so that's where, with cross stitch and where I eventually want to go with hot cross stitching, is to help people understand and become part of the world of cross stitch, to realize that it's not just the samplers and such and the traditional grandma stitch that people may have grown up seeing their family members doing, but also and realizing and understanding that cross stitch can be anything, in the sense that we can stitch any picture we want. And I love that we've got like I think it's Jay's unconventional cross stitch, or unconventional cross stitch, or something very similar to those words. And then there's a cross stitch group that I'm part of on Facebook, where I think it's the witchy stitcher, and I love a lot of the patterns that come through there, that I love seeing in that group, because I really do enjoy watching a lot of the shows and movies connected with the supernatural and unsolved mysteries, when it comes to things like the TV show Supernatural, for example, and those urban legends and urban myths and that kind of thing, where you might have some of these weird characters that come out of the woodworks, but more often than not, it ends up being people being stranger than the actual fictional things that, or real things. Hey, who knows? Bigfoot may be out there. Um, and it's, yeah, the cross stitch patterns that are inspired by those kinds of things. that I think are really cool. And hey, I know that each cross stitch pattern that we work on, or as a designers, each pattern will be different. And I love the flexibility that cross stitch comes with all that. So, as part of me reevaluating life and figuring things out, the idea would be to have a place of my own that people can come to and chill out at, and do stitching or whatever life may enable them to do, with the crafty spaces and such. And what I also love is that we already have some of those places as far as bricks and mortar is concerned. So I'm aware of, I think that there may be a couple of places, if not, I'm not sure if it's connected to the same place. At least in Canberra, I'm aware of there being a store in Canberra based in, I think, Civic Braddon area, which is like the centre of Canberra, like the look at a map, it's dead centre of Canberra. One of those suburbs where I think there's a group of ladies. I think there might be 4 of them, 5 of them, and they have a bricks and mortar space where people can come in and learn how to quilt, knit, crochet, a few other things in between. And I know that on the south side of Canberra as well, that there's a bricks and mortar store called the Crafty Frog, and I love that shop. That's a really cool shop. They have some really cool stuff there, ranging from products that can help with embroidery and cross stitch and knitting and crocheting and quilting, and applique and a few different things in between. And I think they do run some classes from there as well, and they enable some cross stitch groups as well to get together. And that's been phenomenal. I've really loved all of that. Like, I've only been to one of those stitching groups this year, and I hope that next year I can attend more of those. And I'm also aware of another person, I think in the north side of Canberra, in the Gungahlin region, where I think they are also teaching people how to do cross stitch, and that I think they may also have a place in Civic where people can go to do classes. And I can't remember their name right now, but if you do a Google search on cross stitch classes or something along those lines, hopefully you'll come across that person I'm trying to think of. And I don't know how things are going for them. I hope things are going really well for them, and that they're finding a lot of success with what they're doing. I hope that's the case, because I think with the way the world has been over the last few years, many people have found the benefits in being crafty and doing anything from using paints and clays and that kind of thing to express their creativity, through to drawing and cross stitching and that kind of thing. So, or baking even, and those sorts of things. So that's sort of where the headspace is right now, and I love that there's more of these sorts of things coming up and doing different things. So that's sort of where the headspace is. I have been talking a fair bit already, where I think this will probably end up being about a 40, if not 50-minute episode. So, what I'm hoping into the future is that I can get some more stitching done on Dewdrop Daisy, that I'm unsure about starting another pattern. starting another project. So many options, so many choices. Oh, so many. So until next time, I'm not sure when I'll next be able to record another episode. I hope that it will be before the end of this calendar year. Considering it's the 11th of December, I may not be able to record anything more until the new year. And if that's the case, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, or Happy Holidays, whichever way you celebrate. And I hope that the way the year ends this year is kind to everyone. And until next time, happy stitching. See you.